These kamikaze were basically planes stuffed with explosives flown by half-trained young pilots who were told to do their duty for their country just as their samurai ancestors had done. Didn't matter that most of these people were not from samurai families. But this is one of those instances where heroes like Kusunoki Masashige were invoked. And of course he was invoked because he was somebody who was a samurai who died for the emperor, who was a great figure of military pride, but also someone who knew how to die well. And the defeat, and then the legacy of the samurai became reinterpreted once again, as we've seen from movies like Harakiri, which is very emblematic of the post-war Japanese, basically very evocative of sentiments that were around during the post-war era. Samurai after the war, many of them were criticized for having been these super obedient oafs who had basically failed the country before and whose legacy had now failed the country again. Samurai influence was seen as part of this old feudal way of thinking that made the people susceptible to being controlled by an evil government. And people like Kobayashi, who directed Harakiri, you can see they were very, very critical of this aspect of the samurai. Of course, they were also misinterpreting the samurai, as we've seen from Luke Roberts' work. These were anything but blindly obedient idiots. But nevertheless, the legacy of the samurai was interpreted as having an impact on current events, and it was politicized, it was deployed for political purposes, but it was also deployed for cultural purposes. And no matter what one's engagement with the samurai legacy was, it was certainly part of Japanese culture, and in a way was such a touchstone because, and so subject to interpretation and reinterpretation, because so many Japanese knew about the samurai and were invested in that historical image. It was just something that really was a part of Japanese culture by this point. Everybody's, no matter what their family background was. Increasingly nowadays, we consume the samurai through venues such as certainly movies, but also manga and anime. Here is a scene just from one of the more popular, somewhat recent anime shows, and there's just so many. I really just don't even have the time to even begin to list all of the titles I know that involve samurai. And once again, in many ways, the images of the samurai that come through in movies, in manga, in popular TV dramas, they are ways for us to work out our own political issues and to work through the spirit of our own time by holding up the samurai as a mirror. In the 1990s and the early 2000s, and certainly still to this very day, a debate is raging in Japan over whether or not to amend the Japanese constitution, the post-war constitution, which outlawed the use of Japanese military forces. And many people are arguing that this is antiquated and it should be changed. And many people are arguing that Japan's commitment to peace is a historic step, and we should not overturn it. And this is actually coming through, I believe, in some ways, it is in some ways reflected through animated films and series that feature the samurai. There's a very popular series and a series of films called the Rurouni Kenshin series, perhaps some of you have heard of it, about a samurai in the early Meiji period late Tokugawa into early Meiji, who refuses to kill people. And this kind of a way of working out one's relationship to armed force, one's relationship to peace, one's relationship to the use of force in the service of good, all of these are issues which are certainly in the air in modern Japan, and I think it's no accident that animated series came out around the same time that the debate over revising the Japanese Constitution was really heating up in the 1990s. And so, in many, many ways, the samurai are still with us. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to have you in this course, to share my opinions with you, to have you share your opinions and your conclusions with me. And I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope you enjoyed learning about the samurai. Thank you very much.